The moment of selection is never clean, never ceremonial in the way legends pretend. It does not begin beneath cathedral spires or in front of towering statues of forgotten heroes, carved from obsidian and marble. It begins in the ordinary filth of a hive city morning, in the smell of burnt recycled steam drifting through the open vents, in the distant rumble of manufacturing engines grinding away like the heartbeat of some buried titan. It begins with the taste of metal on your tongue, the kind that settles there after long hours breathing dust thickened with chem residue. You remember waking long before dawn, your skin cold, your hands trembling not from fear but from the sense that something was wrong with the air. People always say they feel fate approaching, but it isn't fate that unsettles your body. It's the way silence falls where noise should be, the way the ambient hum shifts, the way the world seems to pause as if holding its breath. You step outside your block and see the others gathering there. Children and half-grown adolescents, some still rubbing sleep from their eyes, others wearing expressions of forced bravado. The sunlight flickers overhead, casting a sickly green hue over everything. Somewhere farther down the causeway, a mother clutches her son's shoulders too tightly, her knuckles white as bone. Another boy stares straight ahead, jaw-locked, as if he can will himself into something more than he is. Rumors had slipped through the underhive. The night before whispers about towering figures in ceramite armor, seen speaking to the governor's aides, the kind of whispers that travel faster than truth. But no one wants to be the one to say them aloud. Words have power in places like this, and fear has a way of sharpening the power into something destructive. You do not know yet why your heart pounds so violently. Perhaps part of you does know, but refuses to acknowledge it. You try to focus on the mundane, the cold plasteel beneath your feet, the distant hissing of steam vents releasing pressure from the manufacturing stacks, the acrid tang of the night's rain still hanging in the air. People around you shift nervously. Conversations fall into murmurs, then into silence as a deep vibration travels through the causeway, like the approach of something impossibly heavy. Even before you see them, you feel the presence of the Astartes. It is not a feeling that makes sense. It lives in the spine, coils in the stomach, spreads cold fingers across every nerve. It is the instinctive terror that comes when prey senses a predator to far beyond comprehension. To flee from, then they appear. The first figure emerges from the haze with the slow, inevitable weight of a mountain learning to walk. His armor is deep blue or crimson or black. Your memory cannot catch the exact hue, as if even recollection trembles in their presence and marked with the sigils of a chapter. You were taught never to speak of lightly. The pauldrons gleam beneath the failing lights, each one etched with script older than the hive itself. His helmet is shaped like a skull carved from ceramite, the Vox grill humming with a low, resonant power that sets your teeth on edge. Behind him, to more giants advance, their steps shaking the duracrete beneath you, their gaze scanning the gathered crowd with a cold precision that feels both clinical and spiritual. No one bows. No one dares move. The air becomes heavy enough to crush the breath from your lungs. A governor's attendant hurries ahead of the giants, his eyes darting nervously as he shouts for everyone to stand in lines. You join the others, your pulse deafening, your hands clammy. The attendants hold data slates and filters, recording something with frantic urgency. But the Astartes do not look at them. Their attention is fixed solely on the crowd of potential recruits, and when their gaze touches you, it feels like being pinned under a spotlight, your entire existence laid bare. Every secret you have ever carried feels exposed. Every lie you have ever told feels illuminated. You wish desperately to look away, but your body refuses to obey. The skull-helmed giant stops. He raises one gauntleted hand, and the attendant behind him falls silent instantly, as if someone cut the sound from the world. His voice emerges from the Vox grill with a depth that vibrates through your ribs. Step forward. The crowd does not move. You feel everyone stiffen. The silence stretches until it is unbearable. Then, impossibly, your own legs begin moving. You do not remember making the choice. You do not remember telling your muscles to work. You only know that you are walking, passing children taller and stronger than you who stare wide-eyed, as if wondering why fate has touched you instead of them. When you reach the line in front of the towering warrior, you stop. You cannot lift your head. You cannot speak. Your heart feels like it is trying to escape your chest. The Astartes tilts his head slightly, studying you with the detached curiosity of a scientist examining a specimen. There is no warmth in his posture, no encouragement, only evaluation, only judgment. Name, he says. You say it, or at least you think you do. Your voice sounds small, barely audible beneath the hum of his armor's power systems. He turns slightly, as though listening to distant voices across some private channel. The other giants halt behind him, their immense silhouettes casting shadows that swallow the world behind you. The skull-helmed warrior looks back at you. His next words are not loud, but they feel heavier than the weight of the hive overhead. You will come with us. It is not a request. Your stomach drops. Somewhere behind you, someone gasps a sharp, strangled sound. A woman begins to sob quietly. Another child takes an involuntary step forward, then freezes as one of the other Astartes turns his head in warning. You feel the world narrowing around you, collapsing into a single point of focus, the giant standing before you, and the path he demands you walk. You want to ask what will happen. You want to ask if your family will know. You want to ask why you, out of all the others. But your voice is gone. All that remains is movement. You follow when he turns, moving as if in a dream, each step echoing louder than the last. The crowd parts with a reverence tinged with fear. Some watch you with envy, others with horror, but all with the understanding that whatever happens next, you are no longer one of them. The Astartes lead you down a corridor you have never entered before, past gates that only open when their armored fists strike coded patterns into the locks. Server lights flicker live overhead as they pass, casting shifting halos across the walls. The air grows colder, cleaner, as if filtered 1,000 times before reaching you. You sense the layers of protection and sacred machinery embedded in every surface. Your mind tries to catalog the details, sigils etched into steel, panels sealed with wax and purity seals. Our specs units humming quietly, but your thoughts slip away as soon as you grasp them. Fear makes memory unreliable. Eventually, you enter a chamber unlike any you have seen. The ceiling arches so high it disappears into shadow. Candles burn in iron sconces, their flames unmoving despite the faint breeze that follows the giant's steps. The floor is polished stone, carved with symbols you recognize only from children's prayers and half-forgotten lessons recited by weary instructors. At the center of the chamber stands a single dais, and upon it, a figure in robes the color of old parchment, a chaplain. His skull mask gleams in the candle light, bone white and expressionless. He does not move as you enter, but his presence fills the chamber more completely than the Astartes who escorted you. He turns his head with slow, deliberate precision, each movement echoing like a ritual. When he speaks, his voice is deeper than the armored giants, woven with the faintest edge of something that feels like a machine's whisper, layered beneath a human voice. Bring him forward. You try not to stumble. The Astartes guide you with silent steps, stopping only when you stand at the base of the dais. The chaplain descends, his robes brushing the stone like the wings of some enormous bird. He circles you once, his gaze heavy. You do not know what he sees. You fear what he sees. You sense that his attention is not solely on your body or your posture, but on something deeper, something inside you that you cannot hide. You have been chosen, he says, each word measured. Final. By gene seed, by destiny, or by the Emperor's inscrutable will. It matters not. What follows is a path from which there is no return. You open your mouth to speak, but his gloved hand rises and your voice dies unspoken. You do not ask questions, he continues. You accept. You endure. You become. He steps closer. The edge of his mask hovers inches from your face. You can see faint scratches in the bone-white surface, carved marks that might be from battle or ritual or something far older. Do you understand? The answer forms inside you before you can resist. Yes, your voice is stronger this time, but it does not feel like your own. The chaplain studies you for a moment longer, then turns away. Take him to the hall of trials. A shiver runs through you. You hear the faint click of armored boots behind you. You do not know what awaits in that hall. You only know you cannot refuse as you are escorted out of the chamber. The candles flicker for the first time, their flames bending slightly as if stirred by something unseen. A chill runs down your spine. A whisper, not a voice, not a sound, but a sensation brushes the edge of your mind. You turn sharply, expecting to see someone behind you, but there is nothing but the empty corridor and the fading glow of the ritual chamber. You face forward again. You walk, and every step takes you deeper into the truth you were never meant to survive. They do not tell you, as they lead you down into the bowels of the fortress, that the Hall of Trials is where names come to die. No one says that aloud. No one needs to. You can feel it in the temperature of the air as it drops degree by degree, in the way the walls transition from decorated stone to bare, utilitarian plasteel, in the way sound changes from echoing chants to a flat, oppressive silence. The lights overhead no longer flicker like candles, they hum with a harsh, white steadiness that leaves no shadow soft enough to hide in. Your escort speaks no words. Their armor murmurs with low-power field sounds that blend with the vibration of the fortress around you, until you are no longer sure where the machines end and the giants begin. Eventually the corridor widens, opening into a chamber so large the far walls vanish into haze. Your first impression is not of grandeur, but of function. Everything here has purpose. Steel gantries crisscross overhead, lined with server skulls that drift along predetermined paths, their optics glowing like cold stars. Auspex rays hang from the ceiling, lenses swiveling with insect precision. Along the floor, marked in yellow and black hazard stripes, are lanes and platforms and open squares that mean nothing at first glance and then resolve into something more terrifying: stages, arenas, testing grounds. You are not alone. Dozens of other youths stand scattered across the chamber, each escorted by their own armored guardians. Some you recognize from your district, others wear the dust of far-flung settlements or the faint chemical sheen of manufacturing habs. They all share the same expression, their eyes wide with a mixture of fear and stubborn resolve, shoulders squared in the way of people who know that to slouch is to admit defeat. You wonder if you look like them. You wonder if, from a distance, your own fear is that obvious. A voice blares across the chamber, amplified not by the crude screech of local vox units, but by something cleaner, colder. All aspirants, it says, each syllable clear as a knife edge, stand to attention. You obey instantly. It is not just discipline that moves you. It is the knowledge, already sinking into your bones, that hesitation is a kind of weakness, and weakness is a kind of death. Rose form, uneven at first, then straightening as instincts or fear drive everyone to a line. You feel the gaze of unseen. Observers move across you like a sweeping searchlight. A figure steps into view on an elevated platform at the far end of the chamber. He is not as massive as the Astartes who brought you here, but his presence is no less dominating. Clad in dark Carapace armor etched with the sigils of the chapter, he wears no helmet. His hair is cropped short, his face a map of old scars. His eyes are flat and hard, the eyes of a man who has seen too many die to count them as individuals. You stand upon the threshold of ascension, he says, and there is no reverence in his tone, only fact. You have been chosen from countless millions. You believe that makes you special. He lets the silence stretch. You feel your lungs tighten. It does not. He continues. It makes you slightly less unworthy than the rest. What follows now will determine whether you become one of the Emperor's angels of death, or whether your remains are returned to the soil of this world to feed those who will replace you. A murmur ripples through the aspirants, quickly strangled into silence. You feel the words like a weight pressing down on your spine. There is no comfort in them, no promise, only possibility, balanced on the edge of a blade. These are the trials of the flesh. He says, they will measure what your bodies can endure, how far they can be pushed before bone snaps and sinew fails. But understand this, we do not test you to see if you are strong. We test you to see if you will continue when strength is gone. He gestures, a sharp motion of one gloved hand. Alarms do not sound. There is no dramatic flourish. The chamber simply comes alive. Floor panels slide aside with hydraulic sighs. revealing narrow pits and climbing towers studded with jagged grips. Walls shift, sections rotating to expose handholds, ladder rungs, and lethal protrusions designed to punish carelessness. Tracks deploy from recessed compartments, carrying heavy servitors armed with impact batons and shock prods. Overhead, server skulls alter their patterns, hovering now with the focus of predators scenting blood. The air fills with the smell of oil, ozone, and something sharper beneath it, a faint, metallic tang that you recognize with a chill. Dried blood, ground into the surfaces and never fully cleaned. In these trials, the instructor says, you may break bones, you may tear muscle, you may bleed, you may collapse, you may die. All of these are acceptable outcomes except one. He leans forward slightly. For a moment it feels as though he is speaking to you alone. You may not surrender. The word lands like a blow. Begin. The world explodes into motion. A command barks from somewhere to your left, and the aspirants in your row surge forward. You move with them, caught in the current, your feet hitting the cold floor in a rapid rhythm that quickly becomes a pounding roar in your ears. Ahead! The first trial rises from the ground, a series of uneven platforms spread across a yawning trench. That seems deeper than the chamber should allow. The lights above it are harsher, angled in such a way that shadows lie where they should not, disorienting your sense of distance. Run! Someone snarls behind you. You don't see who. It doesn't matter. You sprint. The trench edge rushes up to meet you. For an instant, doubt claws down your spine. What if you slip? What if you misjudge the distance? What if you fall? The questions burn, but your body is already leaping. Your foot hits the first platform. It wobbles beneath your weight, deliberately unstable. You push off before it can shift too far, launching yourself toward the next. A boy beside you lands badly, his ankle twisting with an audible crack. He screams as he goes down, his body sliding toward the open void. You reach out on instinct, fingers brushing his sleeve. But the momentum is wrong. You cannot catch him. He disappears over the edge. There is no time to look down. The next platform looms. You land, roll, push off. Breath burns in your throat. Your legs feel heavier with each jump, muscles protesting as the trial forces you to commit again and again to leaps that no normal citizen would ever risk. You reach the far side of the trench with a final, desperate lunge, your knees slamming into the plasteel. For a moment, you simply stay there, palms flat against the ground, chest heaving. Move! A voice roars. You stagger upright just as a servitor glides by on a track, its baton sweeping out. The blow catches the slowest aspirant behind you across the shoulders with a crack that sends him sprawling. You see his fingers clawing at the floor, trying to find purchase as another baton strikes his ribs. His scream is swallowed by the ambient thunder of the hall. You turn away. Not out of cruelty. Out of necessity, the next sequence awaits. It is a corridor lined with vertical bars, each coated in a dull, dark patina. At first you think they are simple obstacles. Then the first aspirant grabs one and convulses. The smell of scorched flesh hits you an instant later. The corridor becomes a gauntlet of crackling arcs, the bars alive with controlled electricity. You are expected to climb them, to navigate across, above, between them, using surfaces designed to punish mistakes with blinding pain. Your hands already ache from the earlier scramble, skin raw. You flex your fingers once, then throw yourself at the bars. The first shock is smaller than you expect, sharp, yes, but not incapacitating. It bolts through your arms, down your spine, leaving your muscles twitching. You grit your teeth. You climb. Higher. To the side. One hand slips, knuckles smashing against metal. Another flash of agony. You bite the inside of your cheek so hard you taste copper. Around you. Others scream. One aspirant freezes mid-climb, body locked by the current, fingers welded to the bar by spasming muscles. He hangs there, shaking, until his grip finally fails and he falls into the space below a grid of even harsher currents that erupt in a blinding pulse as he hits. The stench that follows turns your stomach. You do not look down again. You focus on the next hold, and the next. and the next stop by the time you drop down on the far side of the corridor. Your hands are numb, your heartbeat rattles against your ribs, and your vision pulses at the edges with encroaching darkness. The floor here is stained in a way that suggests many have fallen, and lost more than just their pride. You flex your fingers, forcing blood back into them. Pain returns as sensation does, a dull, throbbing heat. There is no pause, no time to rest. A siren blares once, a short, biting note, and the floor shifts beneath your feet. The entire section of the hall reconfigures, panels rising and lowering, ramps unfolding from hidden seams. You realize with a sinking feeling that the trials are not discrete tasks but a continuous onslaught designed to wear you down before you can adapt. The next challenge is simpler in appearance, a long, straight run, with heavy weights suspended from chains that swing unpredictably across the path. The simplicity is a lie. The weights are massive, their surface is scarred, some stained darker where they have struck flesh. Instead of stone, they move in patterns that almost make sense, then change without warning. You step forward. Measuring the rhythm, the first aspirant sprints too early. A swinging weight catches him full in the chest and throws him backward. He lands limp and does not rise. You do not allow yourself time to think. Thinking is where fear breeds. You focus on the sounds, the chain links clinking. TH. Sleep does not come easily after the trials of the flesh. It arrives like an ambush, striking you only when your body can no longer resist. And even then it feels more like falling into a pit than drifting into rest. When consciousness returns, it does so harshly, with a sharp intake of cold air and the dull ache of bruised muscles complaining all at once. You open your eyes to the dim glow of lumen strips running along the barracks ceiling. Rows of narrow cots stretch out on either side, each filled by an aspirant wrapped in the same exhausted stillness. For a moment, you don't remember where you are. Then the pain in your ribs tightens, and everything returns like a wave pulling you under. A klaxon sounds short, clipped, merciless. Aspirants jerk awake around you, some crying out before they remember where they are. The sound dies quickly. No one speaks. No one asks questions. You rise not because you want to, but because you understand that to remain lying down is to invite removal. Your joints protest. Your hands throb. Your ribs grind with each breath. Still, you stand. Still, you move. The instructors appear moments later, clad in black fatigues, their expressions unreadable. One gestures sharply, and you file out of the barracks in silence. The corridor beyond is narrow, utilitarian, smelling faintly of machine oil and recycled air. Your footsteps echo in a steady rhythm that begins to feel like a chant. Ahead, a door slides open with a hiss. You step through it into a chamber unlike any you have seen so far. At first glance, it resembles some form of chapel-vaulted ceiling. Pillars carved with imperial iconography, dim glow lamps casting long shadows across the floor. But where a chapel would have an altar, this chamber has a raised platform surrounded by machines. Tall, skeletal devices sit on either side, their limbs jointed like insects, their tips ending in needles, probes, and metallic petals that open and close as if breathing. Cables snake across the floor, converging into a central hub where a single throne-like chair rests. Its surface is bone-white, smooth and coldly sterile. Restraints gleam along the armrests and footplate. A chaplain stands beside it. Your breath catches. This one is not the same as before. His armor is darker, the bone mask more intricate. His presence heavier in a way you cannot define. He radiates solemnity and something else, an uncompromising certainty that leaves no room for rebellion. You feel as though he sees straight through your skin, straight into the thoughts you haven't spoken, the fears you haven't admitted. You have survived the trials of the flesh, he says. His voice fills the chamber without effort, resonant and quiet at once. Now the mind must be tempered. His gaze sweeps across the aspirants. No one meets it willingly. You are born with weakness. He continues fear, doubt, memory, emotion. All of these serve to bind you to mortality and imperfection. A space marine cannot afford such constraints. The Emperor requires not only strength of limb, but unwavering purpose, total devotion, perfect clarity. He gestures toward the machines. These are the instruments of indoctrination. They will purge weakness from your thoughts. They will carve the litanies of righteousness into the fabric of your mind. What you were before this moment is irrelevant. What you become after it will determine whether you are worthy of the gene seed you seek. He signals to the instructors. You and the others are guided toward smaller alcoves along the walls. Each contains its own chair, simpler than the central one, but still fitted with restraints and surrounded by humming machinery. You take your place in one. Cold metal touches your back as you sit. Straps tighten automatically around your wrists, ankles, and chest. You try not to panic. You succeed only barely. The machine beside you whirs to life. A mechanical arm descends, ending in a curved device shaped like a crown. It lowers slowly until it rests against your skull. Its surface is cool at first, then warms, then pulses with a faint vibration. Something sharp pricks your scalp. You flinch, but the restraints hold you firmly. Remain still. The chaplain commands. The machine hums louder. A pressure builds behind your eyes like hands pushing inward. Then the world fractures. The first sensation is light, not ordinary light, but something bright and burning, flooding your vision until you see nothing else. It pierces your skull like a spear, slicing through thought, memory, identity. You try to cry out, but the breath refuses to leave. Your lungs, somewhere in the dazzling white, shapes flicker towering figures, golden light. The sound of distant chanting that echoes through the marrow of your bones. Then come the voices. They do not speak words, not at first. They whisper impressions, duty, obedience, sacrifice woven together into a rhythm that grips your heartbeat and forces it to match the tempo. You feel your chest tighten, your breath shallow. The pressure inside your skull intensifies until you fear it will split open. The machine adjusts, pricking your scalp again, sending a jolt of current down your spine. A memory rises without. Warning, the face of your mother, lit by the faint glow of a single lumen lamp. Her eyes tired but warm. The memory flickers, the light surges. Her face dissolves. A sound tears from your throat, an instinctive plea for the memory to remain. But the machine does not relent. Instead, it presses harder, rips deeper, tears through the threads of your childhood as if they were fragile strands of webbing. You gasp, fighting for thought, for self. For a moment you manage to seize another memory playing in the dust-covered streets, laughing with your brother. The taste of sweet rations on your tongue during rare feast days. It is warm, human. The light swallows it whole. The voices whisper again, louder now, shaping themselves into phrases. You cannot tell if the chaplain speaks them, or the machine, or something older woven into the ritual. They burrow into your mind, each one sharp as a nail. The emperor is your purpose. Your life is his to command. Your flesh is a vessel. Your thoughts are a weapon. Each phrase resonates inside you. Each one pushes something else out. The hesitations, the doubts, the questions you have carried since childhood. The machine pulses. Pain spikes. You grit your teeth, muscles straining against the restraints. Blood trickles warm down your temple. You want it to stop. You want the world to go dark. You want to sleep and never wake. But still you endure. Gradually the light shifts. It dims, swirling into patterns. Symbols flash before your eyes. Imperial aquilus, purity seals. Litanies inscribed in curling script. You cannot read them. They pass too quickly. Yet some part of you absorbs them, accepts them, stores them deep. It feels invasive. It feels holy. It feels like drowning and ascending at the same time. Then the visions change. You see battlefields shrouded in smoke. You see towering warriors wreathed in fire. You see creatures with too many limbs, too many eyes, their jaws dripping with alien hunger. You smell promethium. You taste ash. You feel the ground shake beneath the thunder of bolt of fire. The machine forces you to witness countless wars, countless worlds, each one etched into your mind with searing precision. You see death not your own, but the deaths of those who stand beside you, their armor shattered, their bodies broken. You feel the grief, sharp and immediate, only for the machine to strip it away, leaving cold clarity in its place. You are not being taught to avoid death. You are being taught to accept it, To expect it to become comfortable with it, the indoctrination grows harsher. Voices chant louder, faster. The crown tightens around your skull. Needles prick deeper. Your thoughts scatter. Your identity frays. You try to cling to something, your name, your past. Anything, but each time you grasp one thread, the machine burns it away. For an instant you fear you are being hollowed out completely, turned into an empty vessel. Then something shifts. A new voice enters the chamber, a deep, resonant tone that vibrates through your bones. Remember purpose, it says. It is not the chaplain. It is not the machine. It feels ancient, familiar, like a memory you never lived. Remember duty. The light steadies, the pressure eases slightly. Remember him, and suddenly everything aligns. The pain remains, but it sharpens into a single point instead of scattered chaos. The visions stop overwhelming you and begin to focus. The battles become clearer, the symbols slower. You no longer feel as though things are being taken. Now it feels as though something is being built. Purpose, discipline, loyalty, resolve. Pieces of a foundation settle into place. The machine slows its rhythm. Your breath steadies. Your muscles tremble less. Sweat cools on your skin. When the crown finally lifts from your head, your skull aches as though struck with a hammer. You expect to collapse, but the restraints hold you upright until they release. The room swims as you stand. Your legs nearly buckle. An instructor catches you by the arm, steadying you with rough efficiency. His grip is strong, but not cruel. Follow, he says. You stumble from the alcove, blinking through the lingering haze. Other aspirants emerge beside you, most pale, trembling, some weeping silently. A few stare into the distance, expressions vacant, eyes hollowed by the weight of what they have endured. One aspirant collapses the moment his restraints release. Two instructors drag him away. You do not know whether he will return. The chaplain watches all of you with a gaze that feels like judgment and approval woven together. What has been burned away makes room for what must be built, he says. Your memories will return in fragments. Some will fade. Others will change. This is the first step toward clarity. His words settle heavily on your shoulders. You are guided. The days that follow the first indoctrination blur together in a haze of ritual, exhaustion, and the steady erosion of anything resembling a normal human existence. You wake, you drill, you endure psychic conditioning that strips away doubt grain by grain, and you sleep only when your mind can no longer resist shutting down. The ache in your ribs never fully fades, but you learn to move with it, through it, as if it were simply another part of you. Pain becomes familiar. Pain becomes a companion, and somewhere deep inside pain becomes irrelevant. Then comes the morning when everything changes. You sense it before the klaxon sounds, an almost instinctive awareness crawling along your spine. The air feels different, colder, touched by something ceremonial. When you rise from your cot, the instructors do not shout. They stand waiting with an unnatural stillness, their eyes devoid of the usual hard edge. Even the aspirants around you move more carefully. As if some unspoken rule has settled over all of you, you file out of the barracks in silence, guided down corridors you have never walked before. The lighting shifts from stark white to a dim, amber glow. The walls change from bare plasteel to stone inlaid with sigils, purity seals, and devotional script written in gilded ink. You feel as though you are descending into the heart of something sacred and terrible. The corridors grow narrower, the air warmer, scented with burning incense and machine lubricant. Eventually, the path widens into a vast chamber. It is nothing like the Hall of Trials. It feels older, deeper, as if carved into the bones of the fortress rather than built upon it. Vaulted ceilings rise into shadow, supported by pillars etched with the names of heroes long dead. Candles burn everywhere, set in alcoves, along ledges, clustered at the base of statues depicting armored giants carrying bolters like relics. The light flickers across metal shutters in the walls, casting rectangular shapes that resemble staring eyes. The hum of hidden machinery thrums beneath it all. A low vibration you feel more in your chest than your ears. At the center of the chamber stands an apothecary. His armor is white, pristine except for the red of purity seals and the faint, iridescent sheen of surgical oils. His helm is shaped differently than those you have seen before, elongated to house Auspex rays and optical tools that glimmer faintly. His gauntlets are fitted with mechanical instruments, some as delicate as needles, others as brutal as bone saws. Behind him, tech marines tend to massive consoles of brass and steel, their servo arms flexing in slow, ritualistic motions. Vials of preservative fluid glow with soft blue light. Crates marked with warning sigils hum with internal power fields. Suspended in a stasis tube is something dark and twisting, organic, yet mechanical. Alive and not alive. Impossibly foreign, the first implant, a ripple of whispers moves through the aspirants, quickly silenced by a pointed look from one of the instructors. The apothecary speaks, and his voice carries the weight of both ceremony and clinical detachment. You stand at the threshold of rebirth, he says. The flesh you were born with is insufficient. Too weak, too fragile, too human. To become Astartes, you must be remade. He gestures to the stasis tube. This is the first of 19 sacred gifts. Each one will change you, strengthen you, strip away what you were and build what you must become. He steps forward, and for the first time you realize that the chamber is arranged not for instruction, but for ritual. Rows of metal slabs line the floor. Restraints glint at their edges. Instrument trays sit beside each one, arranged with surgical precision. Lights hang suspended overhead cold. Clinical luminators that stand in stark contrast to the warm candlelight elsewhere. The apothecary turns his helm toward the gathered aspirants. When your name is called, you will step forward. You will lie upon the slab. You will not resist. You will not cry out. You will endure. His voice drops a fraction. If you fail, your body will be reclaimed and your place given to another. A tech marine touches a panel. A low chime sounds. Names begin scrolling across a hollow display, each one accompanied by a tone that echoes through the chamber. Yours appears sooner than you hoped. You step forward. The metal slab is cold beneath you as you lie upon it, the restraints clicking shut around your wrists and ankles. The luminator above snaps on, bathing you in stark white light. Your heartbeat quickens, loud in your ears. Sweat gathers along your forehead despite the cold air. Beside you, the apothecary prepares his tools with methodical grace. A servo arm lowers from the ceiling, carrying a tray of surgical implements. Another descends with a canister marked with a warning pictogram. The apothecary speaks without looking at you. The first phase opens the way, he says. It prepares the flesh to receive the future. His gauntlet presses against your temple. You feel a burst of cold, then numbness. Another instrument hisses as it injects something into your neck. Your fingers twitch involuntarily. Your breath catches. Do not fear, he says softly. Fear is a habit your new body will forget. Then pain. It does not come gradually. It comes like a blade of fire rammed into your ribcage. Your vision blurs into white. You bite down so hard your teeth ache. Voices chant somewhere above you, tech marines intoning liturgies. The sound blending with the mechanical hum of diagnostic engines spinning to life. The pain intensifies, radiating outward from a single point beneath your sternum, spreading like molten metal through your veins. You gasp, fighting the instinct to thrash against the restraints. The apothecary adjusts something. The pain changes sharper now, more focused. As though precision instruments are working within your chest, the first implant slides into place. You do not see it. You do not want to, but you feel the intrusion, the unnatural weight settling inside you, the sensation of something foreign attaching itself to your organs, integrating with your body in ways no human form was meant to accommodate. It is not simply pain, it is violation and rebirth at once. Your vision fades in and out. At one point, you see the apothecary turn a dial, the servo arm next to him adjusting pitch perfectly to his movement. At another, you see faint motes of gold light drifting through the air. Memory, hallucination, or some lingering shadow of indoctrination, you cannot tell. You hear the murmur of a prayer spoken in a language you do not understand, yet its cadence sinks into your bones, steadying your breath even as your body screams. Time becomes unreliable. You cannot tell if the surgery lasts minutes or hours. Pain gives way to flashes of cold, then to burning heat, then back to cold again. At some point you lose consciousness. You drift in a twilight state where visions rise and fall like tides, visions of battles you have not fought, of armored figures standing beneath alien skies, of planets broken by war and remade through faith. Somewhere in the haze you hear a single phrase, repeated again and again, be reborn. When awareness returns, the apothecary is sealing the incision with a line of glowing, cauterizing light. The scent of burnt flesh mixes with incense. You should feel faint. You should feel empty. But instead you feel wrong, different, heavy in places that were once light, light in places that were once solid. Something alive hums beneath your ribs, not beating, but resonating, harmonizing with your pulse. He notices your confusion. You feel it, he says. Good, the body must acknowledge the change. He turns away, signaling to the tech marines. Release him. The restraints snap open. You try to sit up. Your body obeys sluggishly, as though you are wearing a suit of wet sand. Your vision swims. Two instructors lift you beneath the arms, guiding you gently but firmly off the slab. Your legs wobble. You stumble forward a step, then steady yourself against one of the pillars. The chamber swims with motion. Other aspirants lie in rows of slabs, each undergoing their own implantation. Some are unconscious, some shake violently despite sedation, to lie unnaturally still beneath sheets. Tech marines move with clinical grace, not mourning those who fall, not celebrating those who endure. Around you, the ritual continues. Implants are blessed with liturgical oils. Surgical tools are sanctified with whispered prayers. Each piece of machinery is tended as though it were a relic. Every act is both science and sacrament, blending the precise with the divine. You watch an apothecary lift a glowing organ with reverent hands, holding it as though it were a holy artifact rather than engineered tissue. Slowly, you are guided to a recovery alcove carved into the wall. A Medicae servitor approaches, its mechanical limbs humming as it scans your vitals. It injects a cocktail of stabilizers and anti-shock compounds into your arm. The pressure eases in your head. The fog lifts slightly, but the weight in your chest remains. You sit there, breathing shallowly, feeling the strange new presence inside you. It moves not physically, but subtly, as though adjusting itself, sensing with your heartbeat. You press a hand against your sternum and feel nothing through the bone, yet you know it is there. You know it has changed you. The apothecary approaches once more. The first implant is only the beginning, he says. Your body will reject it if your mind falters. Your mind will break if your faith wavers. Endure both, and you may survive the next. You swallow hard. What? Next, you manage to whisper. His helm tilts. All of them, he says simply. One by one. Until you are remade. His gaze holds yours unreadable. Rest while you can. He turns away, already preparing the next ritual. Hours pass. The nights after your first implantation do not feel like nights at all. Time becomes viscous, thick, uncooperative. Your body drags you into sleep not with the gentle pull of fatigue, but with the sudden plunge of a failing engine shutting down. You collapse into unconsciousness only when the strain overwhelms you. And when you wake, it is never gentle. It is always abrupt, your eyes snapping open as if some unseen command has been shouted in your ear. Breath rushes into your lungs in a sharp gasp. Sweat clings to your body. Your heart pounds in rhythms you don't fully recognize. The implant does not sleep. It works. At first you feel it as a dull heaviness beneath the sternum, a presence settling itself into your anatomy like a guest rearranging furniture in your home without permission. Then, slowly, it begins to move, not physically, not as something sliding beneath bone, but as something altering the state of your body moment by moment. It pulses with faint warmth at odd intervals, like a heartbeat out of sync with your own. Sometimes, when you inhale, it tightens subtly, adjusting the cadence of your breath. Other times your stomach churns for no reason, as though the implant sends tendrils of influence into your digestion, nudging it, testing it, reshaping it. The instructors warn you this will happen. They tell you it is normal, necessary, that your body must adapt to its new architecture, piece by piece, hour by hour. But their reassurances offer no comfort when you wake at night unable to feel the left side of your chest, or when a sudden spike of adrenaline empties into your bloodstream without any external cause, leaving your hands trembling and your mind racing. The first morning after the rite, they march you to the drill yards. The sky above the fortress is washed in pale grey light. A fine mist clings to the air, catching on the edges of the rocky crags that surround the training grounds. The ground beneath your boots is cold and uneven, pitted by years of harsh weather and harsher training. Rows of aspirants stand beside you, all marked by the same signs: dark circles beneath their eyes, shallow breathing, a faint tremor running through their limbs, and beneath it all, a strange brightness, as though something inside each of you has been lit on fire, and is now burning too brightly to ignore. The sergeant overseeing the morning drills speaks without ceremony. You will run. No explanation, no pacing, no warm-up, merely command. Your legs respond before your mind does. The implant pulses with warmth, and suddenly your heartbeat surges, accelerating far beyond what exhaustion would allow. Your breath deepens, your vision sharpens, and your body lurches into motion. At first you struggle to keep pace with the sudden burst of speed, your muscles still bruised from the trials, your ribs throbbing beneath their bandages. But then something shifts. The pain blurs. Your limbs move more smoothly. The ground beneath your feet seems to pull you forward rather than resist you. You run, not because you want to, but because your body has begun to understand what it must be. The air burns in your throat. Cold wind slashes across your face. The mist turns into needle-fine droplets that sting your eyes. Around you, aspirants pant, stumble, push forward. Some fall behind quickly, their bodies refusing to cooperate with the alien changes roiling inside them. Others surge ahead with unnatural vigor, their strides too long, too controlled, too inhuman for boys who only weeks ago lived ordinary lives on dusty hive streets, or scorched frontier settlements. Your ribs ache, but the implant floods your bloodstream with something warm and electric. Pain fades to a distant pulse. Every footfall becomes smoother, more precise. Your lungs feel larger. The cold no longer bites as deeply. The weight of exhaustion fades, replaced by a strange hunger for movement, for effort, for speed. You realize with a mixture of awe and fear that your body is not merely healing, it is evolving. The run ends abruptly when the sergeant raises one fist. You skid to a halt, chest heaving. Sweat drips down your temples. Steam radiates from your skin into the cold morning air. You brace your hands on your knees, trying to steady your breath. Then you notice something unsettling. Your pulse is calm, not slow, not fast, just calm, collected, controlled, as though the exhaustion moments earlier had been a fleeting inconvenience rather than a true strain. The implant hums faintly, and you feel your heart adjust again, slower now, more efficient, more deliberate. It is as if the organ inside you is conversing silently with your body, measuring, calculating, correcting. The sergeant watches all of you carefully. His expression does not change. He does not praise you. He does not acknowledge the transformation. Instead, he motions to the obstacle course again. You run until your legs feel like molten metal. You climb until your fingers bleed. You dive, roll, twist, leap. Every part of your body screams. But every time you falter, every time your limbs give out, every time your vision blurs from exertion, the implant forces a jolt of clarity through you, a flush of oxygen, a surge of strength, a recalibration of focus. By the time the drills end, your muscles ache with a depth you didn't know was possible. You shake with fatigue, and yet beneath the trembling, beneath the pain, something surges, something wild and fierce and undeniable. You feel stronger than you have ever felt, and that terrifies you. Days pass in cycles of training, indoctrination, and further rites. The apothecaries do not implant another organ immediately. They watch carefully, monitor your vitals, test your reflexes, measure your responses to stress and trauma. They record how your body adjusts to the foreign presence inside it. Some aspirants adapt quickly. Others struggle. A few do not survive the night, their bodies rejecting the sacred implant with catastrophic violence. On the third night after the rite, you wake to the sound of muffled screams echoing from one of the other barracks. Instructors rush past your door, their boots thundering down the hallway. You sit upright on your cot, heart pounding as the implant pulses again, hungry for information, ready to flood your body with adrenaline if you rise. You remain still. You listen. The screaming stops suddenly, cut off not with mercy, but with finality. When the instructors return, they carry a stretcher draped in a heavy cloth. The cloth is stained. No one speaks. No one looks at the aspirants watching through cracked doorways. The next morning, that aspirant's bed is empty. The instructors do not mention him. This is the way of the transformation. One by one, the weak fall, the broken fall. The bodies not meant for the Emperor's gifts fall, and those who remain become something else, something harder, sharper, less tethered to the softness of mortality. You feel it even when you don't want to. When you lift a training weight that used to strain your arms, it rises with unsettling ease. When you spar with another aspirant, your reflexes fire faster than you expect, your vision narrowing to a predatory focus. You begin to hear things you never heard before, whispered conversations across the barracks, the tick of cooling metal after drills, the distant hum of generators 5 floors below your sleeping quarters. Your eyes adjust faster to darkness, smells sharpen. Even your voice sounds different, deeper, steadier, carrying weight you don't remember having. The instructors monitor these changes with clinical detachment. Good. One murmurs as you break through a reinforced training barrier with your shoulder. Muscle density is increasing. Bone growth responding correctly. Step forward. Another says as she checks your pulse with a handheld Auspex. Heart rate steady. Implant synchronization stable. But the apothecaries watch with a different kind of attention, one that is colder, and also strangely reverent. They see not a boy, not an aspirant, but a vessel being sculpted into something sacred. Every night, as you lie on your cot waiting for sleep to claim you, the implant shifts, not physically but in influence. It hums beneath your sternum like a secondary pulse, a whisper of machinery and engineered tissue merging into the architecture of your body. It releases chemical signals into your bloodstream, altering hormone levels, modulating your temperature, accelerating the healing of torn muscles. Sometimes you feel it, thinking not with consciousness but with purpose, as though it is alive in a way beyond biological life. And it changes more than your body, it changes your mind. You begin to feel your memories blur at the edges. Names of childhood friends become hazy. The face of your father becomes harder to recall. The streets where you grew up feel like distant dreams rather than real places. Some memories sharpen instead moments of fear or survival. Memories that taught you pain or resilience. It is as if the indoctrination and the implant work together to trim away anything sentimental, anything soft, anything that does not strengthen the warrior you must become. For some aspirants, these changes bring pride. For others, fear. You see it in their eyes. You see it in the way they stare at their hands as if noticing new tendons, new strength, new tremors born of the internal metamorphosis. A few whisper prayers late at night, clutching small aquilus until their knuckles whiten, desperate to hold on to some part of who they once were. But each day, fewer prayers are spoken. One evening, after a particularly brutal round of hand-to-hand combat drills, you sit outside the training hall, breath steaming in the cold air. Your knuckles are raw. Your jaw aches. Blood trickles from a cut above your eyebrow. You press a cloth against it, watching the stain deepen. But as the seconds pass, the bleeding slows. The clot forms faster than it should. The pain fades sooner than expected. The command to assemble in the arena comes before dawn, when the air outside the barracks is still cold enough to sting your lungs. The klaxon that wakes you is sharper than usual, more insistent. And even before you sit up on your cot, you feel your implant surge in response, tightening your pulse, sharpening your breath, readying you for something your conscious mind has not yet grasped. Around you, the other aspirants rise with the same abruptness, eyes dull from lack of sleep yet bright with a kind of instinctive tension. No one speaks. No one asks what awaits. But something in the atmosphere speaks for itself. Today will be different. Instructors march you through winding corridors lit by cold lumen strips. The stone beneath your boots is damp from the night's condensation, and each step echoes like a drumbeat marking the path towards something irreversible. As you approach the arena complex, you notice an unusual presence Astartes. Dozens of them, standing sentinel in alcoves, posted at intersections, watching from balconies above. Their armor gleams in the half-light, massive shapes etched with the scars of countless battles. They do not speak. They do not move. They simply observe, silent as statues, yet alive with the quiet hum of power fields and the breath of men who have long since transcended weakness. You enter the arena. It is larger than the combat pit used for sparring. Much larger. A cavernous space with high walls, the floor divided into zones of different terrain, jagged stone. Sand, steel plates, ruined barricades and twisted debris placed with intentional purpose. Above, gantries and catwalks crisscross the upper levels, lined with servo skulls that drift silently, their red optics glowing like predatory sparks. Lumen floods overhead bathe the entire arena in harsh white light, leaving no shadows deep enough to hide in. The sergeant who oversaw your early trials stands at the center of the arena. His Carapace armor is scuffed, his expression unreadable. When he speaks, his voice carries effortlessly to every corner of the chamber. The body has been tested, he says. The mind has been broken and rebuilt. The first changes take root beneath your skin even now. But all of it, every drill, every pain, every lesson means nothing unless you can fulfill the simplest requirement of an Astartes aspirant. He lets the silence stretch, taught with expectation. You must kill. The words fall like a hammer. A murmur ripples through the aspirants, so faint it dies almost as soon as it begins. Your stomach tightens. A coldness spreads across your shoulders as though someone has poured ice water beneath your skin. Your implant pulses, responding to the surge of adrenaline. You stand straighter. The sergeant gestures sharply. A gate at the far end of the arena grinds open with the shriek of old metal. You expect animals, servitors, combat drones, something mechanical or predictable. You do not expect prisoners. A line of them is herded forward by guards, emaciated figures wearing ragged clothing, wrists bound, faces gaunt from starvation or worse. They stumble into the light, eyes squinting, some shielding their faces as though the brightness itself wounds them. You hear their breathing, shallow and desperate. Some cry softly. Others stare at the ground. A few look up, their expressions hollow. These, the sergeant says evenly, are condemned. Criminals, heretics, deserters, oath-breakers. Their lives belong to the Emperor, and the Emperor has chosen to spend them here. You feel something twist inside you. Revulsion, perhaps, or pity, or confusion. But the feeling is small, and the implant crushes it beneath a wave of chemical con so swiftly you wonder if you imagined it. The sergeant lifts a hand. The guards step back. Unbind them. The restraints fall away. The prisoners rub their wrists, blinking in fear and disorientation. They are unarmed, weak, terrified. You glance at the other aspirants and look horrified. Others grim, others disturbingly blank. The sergeant speaks again. You will face them one by one. Kill your target. Survive. That is all. Hesitation is failure. Failure is death. He turns slightly, watching the crowd of aspirants with a gaze that seems to pierce into your marrow. Only those who can commit will be worthy of the implants to come. A tech marine steps forward beside him, carrying a crate filled with weapons, simple blades, dull training axes, short combat staves. Not bolters, not chain swords. Tools meant for violence without elegance. The sergeant sweeps a hand toward the crate. Choose. Aspirants step forward. You take a blade heavy, single-edged, unadorned. Its weight shocks you, not because it is heavy, but because it feels right, balanced against your palm, eager. Your implant pulses. A prisoner is pushed toward you. He stumbles, cowering, hands raised. He is older than you expected, maybe 40, with deeply lined skin and fear-clouded eyes. He shakes visibly. When he sees your blade, his breath catches in his throat. He tries to speak. Please. The sergeant's voice cuts through the arena like a blade. Begin. The man flinches. You do too. He looks at you, pleading with hollow desperation. I didn't mean I didn't do, please. You want to step back. You want to tell him you're not a killer. You want to believe there is still something human inside you that might refuse. But your body does not respond to those impulses. Instead, your heart rate spikes, your muscles coil, your breath steadies into a predatory rhythm. The implant has made its decision. You realize with a chill that it is not waiting for your conscience. It is shaping it. The prisoner turns to run. Not fast. Not far. Just a frantic scramble fueled by terror. The arena is large enough that he might escape your reach for a moment, but not beyond it. You chase him. Your strides are longer than they should be. Your speed greater than anything you managed before the implant. You close the distance in seconds. You reach out, grab his shoulder and throw him onto the sand. He hits the ground hard, rolling, coughing, trying to crawl away. You stand over him. Your blade feels unnaturally steady in your hand. The man looks up at you with raw, naked terror. Please, I beg you. Your fingers tighten around the hilt. You feel the urge to hesitate, to question, to disobey. But the urge is drowned beneath. A tide of instinct the indoctrination and implant have woven. Together, you hear the sergeant's voice echo from training. A space marine does not hesitate. A space marine does not doubt. A space marine kills. You raise the blade for a heartbeat. Just one. You feel like a child again, standing beneath the manufacturing lights, small and fragile and overwhelmed by the world. Then you strike. The blade sinks into flesh. A cry tears itself from the man's throat and dies as quickly as it rises. Blood splashes across your knuckles, warm and shocking. His body twitches, then goes still. You pull the blade free, breath shaking. Something inside you breaks, something else hardens. Around you, other aspirants fight their own battles. Some struggle, clumsy and panicked. Others kill swiftly, ruthlessly. A few fall, overwhelmed by prisoners who have realized what is at stake and fight with the desperation of cornered animals. But you barely register their movements. You stare down at the body at your feet, feeling the warmth of the blood cooling on your skin. You have killed, not in self-defense, not in war, but as a test. Your hands shake. Your implant pulses. The shaking stops. You wipe the blade on the man's torn shirt and stand. A strange numbness settles over you, a hollow echo where horror should be. It feels unnatural, artificial, yet it steadies you, guides you, reminds you of the chaplain's words. You are being remade. The sergeant moves through the arena, watching each duel. When he reaches you, he looks down at the body, then at you. He nods once, efficient. He says, "It isn't praise. It isn't approval. It is a classification, a measurement." Your gut clenches. Prepare for the next. You stare at him. The next. He steps aside as two guards drag another prisoner forward, a younger man, wild-eyed, struggling violently. You will not kill only once, the sergeant says. The first is instinct. The second is choice. The prisoner is shoved toward you. He swings wildly, fists clenched, eyes blazing with the will to live. You barely raise your blade in time to parry his first blow. The second grazes your shoulder. Pain flares. The implant floods you with chemical precision. You step forward, twist your torso, drive your elbow into his throat. He falls to one knee, choking. You look down at him. His eyes meet yours, furious, terrified, alive. You hesitate. A fraction of a second. The sergeant's voice roars across the arena. Strike. You do. The blade punches through his chest. He collapses, and something inside you collapses too. Not your humanity, not exactly, but some boundary you did not know existed dissolves. You reel back, chest heaving, breath sharp. The sergeant watches you silently to kills. 2 lives ended. To deaths delivered willingly. And the worst part is how quickly the horror fades. The indoctrination catches it. The implant stabilizes it. Your training absorbs it. You stand straighter. You breathe easier. You feel ready. When the sergeant signals that the trial is complete, half the aspirants are on their knees, shaking. A few lie still, blood pooling beneath them from failed fights. Others, like you, stand unnaturally calm, blades dripping with the evidence of what they've become. A chaplain enters the arena, walking among the bodies. His skull mask gleams in the harsh light. He stops beside you, placing a gauntleted hand on your shoulder. The touch is heavy, final. You have begun to understand, he says. The Emperor's angels do not kill for pleasure. They kill because they must. They kill because humanity lives only if its defenders are willing to do what others cannot. The dawn after the final trial does not feel like dawn at all. There is no gentle shift from darkness to light, no warmth sliding across the sky, no sense of renewal. Instead, the fortress is wrapped in a cold grey stillness, as if the world itself is holding its breath. When the klaxon sounds, it is softer than usual, short, low, almost reverent. You rise slowly this time, not because you lack discipline, but because your body aches in ways that feel deeper than muscle or bone. The wounds from the beast still throb beneath your bandages. The bruises on your ribs pulse with each breath. But beneath all of it, something glows, an ember of pride, of survival, of grim understanding. You have passed where so many have fallen. Morik limps as he stands beside his cot, but there is a steadiness in his eyes you have never seen before. Jorund moves stiffly, jaw clenched, ribs clearly broken under the fresh wrappings. Yet he walks with a sharp, defiant purpose, as if daring his own pain to slow him. Around the barracks, other survivors rise, each marked by hardship etched into their bodies. The beds of those who fell remain empty. No words are spoken about them. Their names will not be carved anywhere. Their faces will be forgotten by all except those who shared those last desperate moments with them. The instructors appear at the door. Form ranks. The survivors file into formation. Only 21 remain. You remember entering this place with more than 70. Nearly 2/3 are gone, claimed by trials, by the beasts, by fear, by failure. And this number, small as it is, will shrink further before the transformation is complete. You march through the fortress, through halls you have not yet entered, past statues of Astartes carved in poses of eternal vigilance. Their eyes are cast downward as though judging you, as though measuring whether you are worthy to follow in their footsteps, to carry their gene seed, to inherit their legacy. Each step echoes with the gravity you feel in your bones. Eventually, you reach a set of enormous doors adorned with brass aquilus. The metal is cold and tarnished, but the symbols radiate a solemn, sacred weight. To tech marines stand before them, their servo arms twitching with mechanical precision. A chaplain waits in the center, his skull mask gleaming faintly beneath the dim luminators. He raises one gauntleted hand. Enter. He says. The doors groan open. Inside lies a sanctum unlike anything you have seen. The chamber is vast, circular, its walls covered with relics locked behind crystal panes, old bolters, ceramite fragments, broken helms, tattered banners carried into wars older than your ancestors. The floor is engraved with concentric rings of script, prayers, oaths, litanies of sacrifice and survival. The air is warm, heavy with incense and machine oil, carrying the scent of sterilization and all blood. At the center of the room stand 9 surgical thrones arranged in a circle, each one lit by a luminous halo of cold white light. The thrones look like instruments of torture restraints, clamps, mechanical arms carrying needles, saws, pumping devices, organ storage capsules, sacred tools that blend science with ritual. Each chair is marked by purity seals and tiny inscriptions painstakingly etched into the metal. An apothecary steps forward. He wears immaculate white armor, its surface polished to gleaming perfection. His helm is shaped like a skull adorned with auspex lenses and tools. In one hand he holds a data slate. In the other, a surgical instrument that resembles a long, serrated tooth. You have survived the first trial of body, the second trial of mind, and the final trial of will. He says, "What follows now is your rebirth." He walks among you, gaze shifting from face to face, posture precise and clinical. Your organs will be opened. Your blood will be replaced. Your bones will be strengthened. Your muscles will be reforged. We will implant into you the sacred gifts of the Gene C20 enhancements crafted over millennia of warfare, each one blessed by the Adeptus Mechanicus and sanctified by ritual. Morik grips his own forearm tightly. Jorund clenches his jaw. Your pulse quickens, but the implant steadies it. You will endure surgeries from which many never rise. The apothecary continues. But those who do become more than human. He gestures toward the thrones. You will lie upon these, and we will begin. The instructors call your name. You step forward, daughters, you lie on the cold metal. You feel a sense of déjà vu, the same helpless vulnerability from the first implantation, yet magnified 100-fold. Straps lock around your wrists, ankles, chest, and forehead. The luminator above snaps on, piercing your vision with stark brilliance. The scent of disinfectant sharpens. The apothecary adjusts a dial. A servo arm lowers a curved device toward your ribs. You inhale. Brave men have screamed under this machine. Some never woke up. The chaplain approaches, moving with solemn purpose. He places his hand upon your forehead. His voice resonates low and clear. The emperor watches. Endure. The apothecary leans over you. Begin. Pain is immediate. Not sharp. Not sudden. Deep. Consuming. The machine slices through your skin with surgical precision. You feel your flesh part, your ribs spreading. The air inside your chest chilling as it meets the open atmosphere. An instrument clamps your lungs. A device begins draining your blood. Another begins pumping nutrient-rich fluid into your veins. You try to breathe, but cannot tell whether it is your body or the machinery doing it for you. The apothecary inserts a new organ, small, dark, alive. It pulses as it is placed into your body. You feel it latch onto your internal structures like a parasite seeking a home. A wave of white-hot pain floods your spine. Your vision blurs. Your implant surges painkillers, stimulants, stabilizing agents, but the agony overwhelms them. You grit your teeth. You feel tears spill down your temples. You hear Morik screaming somewhere behind you. Jorund roars through clenched teeth. Someone stops breathing. Machines hiss. Servo arms flicker. Litanies are chanted in low, measured tones. You feel hands inside you. Not literal hands, tools. Instruments, sacred devices prying deeper, pushing deeper, altering the very architecture of your body. Bones are scraped. Marrow is infused with genetic code. Muscles are cut, reshaped, rebuilt. Something cold slides beneath your ribcage and wraps itself around your heart like a whisper. You lose consciousness. Voices drift through the darkness, prayers, murmurs, memories. Your mother's voice becomes the chaplain's. Your childhood blurs into ritual hymns. The sound of a manufacturer becomes the hum of the surgical engines. You do not know how long the darkness lasts. Then your lungs spasm. You gasp violently. Air floods back into your chest, sharper, cleaner, colder than before. Your eyes snap open. The luminator burns. Your body trembles uncontrollably. You feel as though you are drowning in your own blood, then rising above it in a rush of strength so overwhelming it is almost painful. The apothecary's voice echoes from a great distance. He lives. Stabilize him. Warmth spreads through your limbs. Strength follows. You feel your heartbeat, not the one you were born with, but something deeper, heavier, engineered. You turn your head, slowly. Mechanical clamps release. A tech marine detaches the last instrument from your sternum. Blood and fluid are wiped away by servitors. The restraints unlock. You lift one arm. It feels too light and too heavy at the same time. You sit up with effort, breath ragged. When your feet touch the floor, your legs nearly collapse. But when you steady yourself, the weakness fades, replaced by a slow, burgeoning certainty. You are stronger. Not fully, not completely. Not yet, but undeniably stronger. Morik lies on the slab to your left, unconscious but breathing. His chest rises and falls with steady rhythm. His skin is pale, clammy. but his heart monitor pulses strong.jor and sits upright already, his jaw clenched, sweat dripping down his brow. His wounds from the trial are already scabbing, healing faster than they should. The apothecary inspects all three of you. Well, he murmurs, you survived the first phase. You blink. The first. You manage to whisper. He looks at you with cold, clinical reverence. There are 19. Your stomach tightens. Your implant pulses again, steadying your breath. You will receive them all, he says. Piece by piece, pain by pain, death by death, if necessary. Only then will you stand on the threshold of ascension. The chaplain steps behind him. Today, he says, your humanity has begun to fade. You meet his gaze. And what do we become? You ask. He tilts his skull mask. Tomorrow, he says, you will learn the answer. He turns away, robes whispering like the wings of some ancient. Divine predator. The instructors guide you back to the barracks slowly, carefully, as though each step might be your last. But you do not collapse. You walk. You endure. And beneath the ache and exhaustion and fear, something else begins to settle inside you. Purpose. Not the forced purpose of indoctrination. Not the desperation of survival. Something deeper. Something alive. You lie on your cot, feeling the new organ pulsating beneath your ribs. Your pulse synchronizes with it. Your breath deepens. Strength creeps through your veins like a rising tide. You are becoming something else. Not human. Not yet Astartes. Something between. You close your eyes. The transformation has begun. And tomorrow, you will take another step toward the armor that awaits you. Another step toward the oath you have yet to swear. Another step toward becoming one of the Emperor's angels of death. Dawn does not come gently on the day of the final trial. The sky remains a heavy sheet of dark gray, as though the sun itself hesitates to rise over what is about to unfold inside the fortress. When the klaxon blares, it is not the sharp, clipped note of drills or the steady hum of daily training. It is deeper, longer, its echoes rolling across the stone like the tolling of a funeral bell. You feel the vibration in the floor before you even sit up, and your implant answers with a surge of cold clarity that shivers through your bloodstream. Every aspirant wakes instantly. No one lingers on their cot. No one rubs sleep from their eyes. No one asks, what is happening? You all know. You have known for days, perhaps for weeks, from the subtle changes in the instructors' voices, from the way the chaplain watched you with measuring silence, from the unspoken tension that thickened the air in the barracks until breathing felt like a test of, well, today is the day some of you will die. The instructors lead you through corridors you've never walked before. The walls here are older than the rest of the fortress rougher, carved directly into the mountain stone. The air hangs heavier too, humid with the scent of minerals, old metal, and something else beneath it, something faintly organic. A low hum echoes through the narrow passage, resonating with a rhythm that does not feel mechanical. You catch Morik glancing at you, confusion flickering in his eyes, but neither of you speaks. Ahead, the corridor widens into a massive stone archway sealed by a gate of reinforced adamantine ribs. Ancient purity seals flutter in the faint breeze, their parchment edges brittle with age. Candles flicker in alcoves carved into the walls, each flame trembling as if bracing itself for what lies beyond. The sergeant waits there, flanked by two towering Astartes whose armor bears the deep marks of old battles. Their visors glow faintly, unreadable. Their presence tightens your chest. The sergeant steps forward. You stand at the threshold of the final trial. He says, voice steady, solemn, everything you have endured, the pain, the fear, the indoctrination, the implants, the rivalries, the blood you have spilled, it has led you here. He looks over each of you slowly, his gaze lingering not on your bodies, but on your eyes, as though searching for something beneath the surface. This is the trial that determines whether you are worthy of the next stage of ascension. It is the trial that claimed the lives of your predecessors. It is the trial that you must face without instructors watching over you, without guidance, without mercy. He gestures toward the sealed gate. Beyond this door is a complex of chambers carved into the mountain. They shift, they move, they change. You will face beasts, traps, darkness, time and yourselves. A low murmur breaks among the aspirants, quickly silenced by the sergeant's raised hand. You will enter as groups of 3. He continues. You will emerge as whatever fate allows. Morik stiffens beside you. Jorund clenches his jaw. You feel your pulse thrum against your ribs. Know this, the sergeant says, voice dropping lower. The trial is not to test your ability to kill. You have shown that. It is to test something harder. He steps closer. It tests whether you will survive the war inside your own mind. The gate groans as ancient hydraulics awaken. The ribs begin to spread apart, revealing darkness so deep it seems to swallow the lumen light around it. Cold air rushes out, carrying the scent of damp stone and something metallic and faintly sweet blood long dried, or something older. Jor and exhales sharply. Marek's fingers twitch. Your implant pulses with warning. The sergeant lifts a hand. Choose your 3. You, Marek. And Jorund stepped forward without hesitation. A few aspirants scramble to form groups. Others are pulled together by circumstance or desperation. Kellen pairs with 2 who look at him with fear more than trust. You see uncertainty flicker in his posture, though he turns away quickly to mask. The sergeant nods once. The Emperor watches enter. You step into the darkness. The gate slams shut behind you with a booming finality that echoes through the stone like a death knell. Total darkness envelops you. You hear Marek's breath quicken. Jorund shifts beside you, blade sliding quietly from its sheath. For a long moment, you stand in silence, then faint lights flicker along the wall's blue, trembling glimmers embedded in the stone like dying stars. They illuminate the first chamber, a white cavern with uneven ground, stalactites hanging like jagged teeth above. Moisture drips steadily from the ceiling. The air tastes of minerals and old dust. Jorund moves ahead, scanning the terrain. We stay together. He murmurs. You nod. Morik follows close behind, tension visible in every line of his face. The first stretch of the chamber seems deceptively simple. No traps, no enemies, only stone and silence. But the silence is wrong to heavy to crafted, as though something watches from the unseen spaces between shadows. Then you hear it, a low growl, deep, guttural, coming from everywhere and nowhere at once. Morik freezes, the growl rises, echoes splitting into multiple directions. Your implant surges, flooding your senses with cold clarity. Your breath steadies. Your muscles tense. Shadows shift. Something moves. A beast lurches from the darkness. A massive, malformed creature, its limbs too long, its skin stretched over sinew and bone like wax left in the sun. Its eyes gleam with feral rage. It charges with frightening speed. You leap aside as it swipes with claws that glance off stone and leave deep gouges. Jorund swings his blade, striking its flank. The beast howls, twisting with unnerving agility. Morik stumbles back. You dive forward, blade flashing. The creature lunges. You feel its claws rake across your arm, pain sharp, immediate, but numbed quickly by your implant pumping stabilizers into your blood. You slash upward, cutting into the creature's neck. Jorund slams his shoulder into its side, burying his blade deeper. The beast thrashes. Morik, trembling, drives his dagger into its throat. With a final, violent convulsion, the creature collapses, silence returns, the chamber shifts. You feel at first an almost imperceptible tremor in the stone beneath your boots. Then the walls begin to move, grinding with ancient mechanical force. Pathways open. Others seal shut. The maze is alive. Move, you say. Jor and leads. Morik keeps close behind you. You slip through a narrow passage as the stone clamps shut inches behind your heels. The next chamber is smaller, the walls slick with condensation. Strange symbols, carved by hands long dead or by something not human, coil across the stone in patterns that unsettle the eye. A thin mist covers the floor. You step into it and the world changes. Not physically. Mentally. Voices whisper. At first they are faint, like echoes carried on wind through a distant canyon. Then clearer, sharper, familiar. Your mother's voice, your father's, friends you barely remember. Come home. You don't belong here. You're still a child. You're afraid. Your breath catches. Morik staggers, clutching his head. Joran snarls, shaking violently. The mist thickens. The whispers turn cruel. They will leave you behind. You will fail. You're weak. You're dying. Your implant pulses urgently, attempting to drown the noise with chemical suppression. But the voices crawl deeper, burrowing into memories the indoctrination didn't erase. You stumble. The cavern begins to warp. Shadows twist. Shapes form faces you killed, eyes wide with accusation. The prisoners. The men you cut down in cold blood. They reach for you with hands stained red. Morik screams. Joran roars, striking blindly. Your heart hammers. Your implant cannot fight emotion, it can only deaden it. But these illusions don't strike from emotion alone. They strike from memory. So you close your eyes and listen. The voices swell, swirling around you in a storm of grief and guilt. But beneath them, beneath the phantom whispers and echoes of ghosts, you hear something else. Your real breath, your real heartbeat, your brother's gasps, the drip of water from the ceiling, the hum of stones shifting. Reality. You grit your teeth. They're illusions. You say through clenched teeth, not real. Move forward. Morik sobs, trembling. Joran curses, but his breathing steadies. You step through the mist. Each step is a battle of will. Shadows reach for you, illusions clawing at your mind, dredging up fear. You feel hands grazing your arms, cold, accusatory. You see faces in the mist, screaming silently, but you walk through them. Eventually, the mist thins. The voices fade. The illusions dissolve. You emerge into a narrow passage, breathing hard, sweat running down your back despite the cold. Morik collapses to his knees, shaking uncontrollably. You kneel beside him. We're alive, you say quietly. We made it. He nods slowly, tears drying on his cheeks. Joran stands rigid, fists clenched. Jaw tight, as if ashamed of the fear he felt. The passage slopes downward. The air grows colder, damp, heavy. You hear water dripping, stone grinding, something moving beneath the earth. You descend into the deepest part of the trial. The chamber that awaits is vast, lit by a single pale light filtering through cracks high above. The floor is uneven, littered with debris, skeletal remains, rusted chains. A pigeon's in the center, its depth impossible to see. The air feels thick, charged, alive. The sergeant's voice echoes faintly from the stone. Face what? Emerges. Survive. Ascend. A rumble shakes the floor. Then silence. Then breath. Wet. Heavy. Animal. A creature rises from the pit twice the size of the beast before. Its body is a mass of sinew and bone, its jaw splitting unnaturally wide, lined with jagged teeth. It roars, the sound shaking the stone. The nights after the first kill do not pass quietly. They cling to you like oil, thick and heavy, seeping into the cracks between thought and instinct. Long after you've washed the blood from your hands. Long after the arena floor has been scrubbed clean by servitors with blank optic sensors. The echoes of the dying linger in your mind. Their voices scratch against the inside of your skull. Their faces flicker behind your eyelids each time you blink. Yet each time your breath begins to quicken. Each time guilt rises like a tide threatening to drown you, the implant pulses are cold, steadying presence that presses your emotions flat. Until they resemble nothing more than distant memories, you lie in your cot, staring at the ceiling, listening to the uneven breaths of the other aspirants. Some whimper in their sleep. Some grit their teeth and mutter broken prayers. A few lie rigid and silent, their eyes open, staring at the same ceiling as you, unable or unwilling to close them. You can sense their fear as clearly as the cold air brushing against your skin. But beneath that fear, beneath the exhaustion, beneath the trauma, another sensation grows. Expectation. Something is coming. Something the instructors have not spoken aloud, but something every aspirant feels in the tension of the barracks. Whatever lies ahead will not test your body or your will alone. It will test something deeper. You rise before dawn, guided as much by instinct as discipline. Outside, the air is cold enough to sting your lungs when you inhale. The fortress around you is quiet, except for distant machinery humming like a heartbeat deep within the stone. The sky is still dark, the horizon just beginning to flicker with weak light. One by one, the others rise as well, drawn by some unspoken understanding. Instructors march you through the courtyard, past statues of giants in ceramite armor, each carved with impossible precision. Their visors stare down at you with eternal silence, their weapons held like extensions of their will. You walk beneath their gaze, feeling infinitely small. You enter a wide chamber unlike any you've seen before. It is neither a chapel nor a training hall. It resembles a barracks, but older, its walls lined with iron racks holding folded fatigues, shattered helms, broken training blades, and other remnants of past generations. Above the racks hang banners so ancient their colors have faded to muted shades, the symbols embroidered on them barely visible beneath layers of time and battle-worn dust. This place breathes history and something else grief. The sergeant stands at the center of the chamber. Beside him, a chaplain and an apothecary observe silently. Their presence alone is enough to silence the room. The sergeant gestures for all of you to gather close. The trials you have endured so far tested your body, your mind, and your resolve, he says. But the next test is of a different kind. No recruit survives alone. No space marine fights alone. You must understand the bond of brotherhood. You must learn whom you will trust, and whom you will surpass. You feel a flicker of unease. Around you, the others stiffen. This chamber, he continues, sweeping a hand around the room, is where aspirants learn the truth of each other, where weaknesses are revealed, where strengths become threats, and where the line between ally and rival becomes razor-thin. He points to the racks along the walls. You will choose your place here. The ones beside you will be the ones you eat with, train with, sleep beside, and stand by during the next phase. These will be the ones you either rely upon or compete against. The air thickens. You feel the shift in the room immediately, glances exchanged. Jaws tightening, shoulders squaring. Trust is a luxury none of you have been allowed to develop, but rivalry has grown, quietly, beneath every drill and every test. Now, the sergeant is forcing it into the open. You step forward, choosing a rack near the center. Beside you, Morik takes one without speaking, his jaw still bruised from the sparring matches 2 days ago. On your other side stands Joran, the tall aspirant with a hard stare, one of the strongest in the group. His expression is not welcoming. It is a challenge. The sergeant watches each choice with careful eyes, reading alliances, measuring tensions. When the last aspirant has chosen a place, he nods. You will spend the next days here, together. You will train in pairs, eat in pairs, fight in pairs. You will learn who will strengthen you and who will hold you back. He steps aside. The chaplain steps forward. His skull mask gleams in the cold light. The Imperium is built upon brotherhood, he says, voice deep, resonant. The bond between space marines is sacred, forged not by blood, but by fire and war. But before brotherhood is forged, rivalry must be faced. He lifts a gauntleted hand. In this place, you will face each other, not in the arena, not in the trials of the flesh, but here where truth cannot hide. The apothecary gestures to a table where medical instruments lie arranged with chilling precision. We will monitor your hearts, he says calmly, your responses, your reactions, the way you breathe when you stand beside those who might one day save you, or leave you to die. A knot forms in your stomach. The sergeant signals, and the tests begin. They start small, simple challenges meant to strip away the fawade of cooperation. You and Joran are paired first. You spar with blunted staves, each blow ringing through the old chamber like a shout. Morik watches from the sidelines, breath held, eyes darting between you. Joran fights with calculated aggression, testing your balance, probing your weaknesses. Each strike forces you to confront not just his strength, but your own instinct to overpower him, to win, to prove something. When you land a clean blow to his ribs, he doubles over slightly. You expect the instructors to call an end. Instead, they step closer, watching with interest. Jor and recovers. His eyes burn. The rivalry begins. Next come endurance tests. You and Morik are tied together by a heavy length of chain and commanded to drag weighted sleds across the chamber floor. Morik struggles, gasping for breath, his face pale. You feel frustration spark beneath your ribs. The implant screams for efficiency, for speed, for strength uninterrupted. But the sergeant's voice echoes through your mind. No space marine survives alone. You adjust your pace, grip the chain differently, balance his weight with yours, and slowly, agonizingly you succeed. Then comes psychological trials. You and the others stand in a circle. One aspirant is chosen to step into the center. The chaplain circles him, asking cold, precise questions meant to provoke insecurity. Who among your brothers do you trust least? Who will fail? Who will fall? Who weakens you? Who threatens you? Whom would you leave behind? The answers tear at the fragile threads of unity you barely possess. Tempers flare, eyes narrow, breaths sharpen. Rivalries bloom like wounds left untreated. Some lie, some do not. Some hesitate, and the chaplain marks each hesitation as weakness. You dread the moment your turn comes. When you step into the center, the chaplain circles you like a predator. Whom do you fear will not endure? He asks. Faces flash through your mind. Marek, trembling from exhaustion. Jorund, unpredictable and proud. Others who have already buckled beneath the strain of the trials. You speak the truth before you can stop yourself. I fear for all of them. The chaplain stops. The room freezes. He leans closer. Skull mask inches from your face. Fear is weakness. He steps back. But compassion, he says quietly, is strength when wielded without hesitation. He turns away, leaving the others murmuring in confusion. The tests grow harsher. One challenge places you, Marek, and Jorund in a narrow corridor filled with gas that burns the eyes and throat. You must find the exit together while half-blind and struggling to breathe. You fight through coughing fits, guiding Marek with your hand on his shoulder. Jorund nearly abandons him twice, snarling that he will not die for someone too weak to keep pace. You drag both of them through the last few meters, collapsing onto the stone floor as the gas vents shut. Jorund glares at you, pride wounded, but he does not speak. He knows that without you, he would have failed. The instructors watch every second. Bond, rivalry, cooperation, competition. They shape all of it. Days pass. Tensions sharpen. Arguments break out over rations, overtraining weapons, oversleeping space. The smallest slights feel like provocations. A sideways glance becomes a threat. A muttered word becomes a spark. One night, you wake to shouting. To aspirants grapple in the corner of the chamber, fists flying. Blood spatters the floor. The sergeant does not intervene until one of them loses consciousness. When he does, he simply steps between them, his voice calm. Not like this. He gestures to the door. If you will break each other, do it where it makes you stronger. The next day, those same two are paired for combat drills, and something changes between them. The violence becomes controlled, focused, purposeful. They learn each other's rhythms. Their hostility transforms into synchronized brutality. Rivalry becoming brotherhood. You feel it too. Marek begins to rely on you openly, watching your movements, matching your stride during drills. You guide him when he falters. He supports you when pain from your implant flares. Jorund remains proud, fierce, unpredictable, but his hostility toward you shifts. It becomes respect sharpened by competition. He trains harder because of you, fights harder, survives harder. You begin to sense the value of each aspirant around you. Who will break? Who will endure? Who will rise? Bonds form subtly, quietly, beneath the surface of rivalry. The days that follow your first implants blur together in a haze of pain, awakening, and transformation. Sleep becomes less of a refuge and more of a cycle your body enters only when necessary, as if your physiology has begun to decide for itself when consciousness is needed. The barrack smell of antiseptic, sweat, blood, and faint ozone from the machines that monitor you each night, each morning. You wake feeling different in ways that are too subtle to articulate. Stronger in one breath, hungrier in the next. your senses sharpening like blades honed by some invisible hand. The apothecaries move among you with cold precision, administering new surgeries, new rites, new augmentations that reshape you piece by piece. Some procedures hurt more than the trials you survived. Some numb you entirely, only for agony to bloom later when sedation fades. Some leave you feverish, shivering, mumbling half-formed prayers in the dark. Others make your bones itch and your muscles twitch as they adjust to altered structure. You endure each one. You endure because survival is no longer a question of desire. It is a requirement carved into your soul. Morik nearly dies twice. Once when an implant becomes infected, his fever rising so quickly that instructors rushed him into the surgical sanctum. Once when his body rejects a gland, violent spasms twisting his limbs until his throat bled from screaming. But he lives. You watch him struggle, fight, rise again and again, refusing to disappear into the empty beds that once belonged to those who fell. Jorund grows stronger faster, his frame thickening, his stance widening, his reflexes sharpened to a knife's edge. He stops flinching from pain. He stops groaning during surgeries. His silence becomes a kind of armor. You feel yourself changing too. Bones thicken. Your vision adjusts to light and dark with unnatural speed. Wounds that once took days now close within hours. Your hunger grows monstrous. You devour triple rations, then more. Your stomach demanding fuel to rebuild the warrior you are becoming. Your heartbeat deepens. Each thud a heavy drum inside your chest. Sometimes you wake gasping, as if your body is learning how to breathe again. Sometimes you wake to the sound of your own teeth grinding against each other, sharpened by microscopic changes along their edges. The instructors do not slow. The training intensifies. You run obstacle courses meant to break mortal men. You spar, with instructors wearing reinforced armor, their blows heavy enough to crack stone. You hold stances for hours, your muscles trembling, sweat dripping onto cold ground. You endure lessons in tactics and doctrine, studying the history of the chapters, the wars that scar the galaxy, the nature of the Emperor and the enemies, that crawl toward humanity like a living tide of nightmares. You recite the litany of fury, the canticles of hate, the creed of the Imperium. One morning, you wake before the klaxon, something inside you alert, aware, waiting. When the door bursts open and the sergeant calls for formation, you move before your mind fully registers the command. Your body obeys instinctively now, forged by routine and chemical enhancement. In the courtyard, a cold wind howls between the stone pillars. The sergeant stands before the assembled aspirants, arms folded behind his back. Today, he says, you meet what you are becoming. A murmur ripples through the group. You exchange a glance with Jorund. Morik wipes sweat from his brow, eyes narrowing. The sergeant gestures, and to Astartes step forward towering giants in ceramite armor, their pauldrons marked by the chapter's heraldry. They move with the weight of gods, every step measured, deliberate, terrifying in its simplicity. One carries a massive bolter across his chest. The other wears a helm carved with intricate script. They stop before the line of aspirants. This, the sergeant says, voice steady but reverent, is what you will become. The bolter-bearer steps closer. The sheer presence of him is overwhelming. His armor is the color of layered midnight. His visor glows faintly. You can hear the hum of auto-senses calibrating, the whisper of armored servos flexing beneath ceramite. He looks down at you, and for a moment you feel like a child standing at the feet of a titan. Speak, he says through the vox grill, voice echoing with grinding metallic depth. Tell me why you deserve the Emperor's gene seed. Your throat dries. One by one, aspirants answer. Some stumble over their words. Some recite practiced litanies. Some shout with desperate pride. Others whisper with fear. When it is your turn, the giant's gaze settles on you. Your heart pounds. Your implant steadies it. You inhale. I don't know if I deserve it, you say, but I will become someone who does. Silence falls. The Astartes tilts his helm dot, then he nods. Better than pride, he says. Better than certainty. You will learn. He steps back. The chaplain emerges from behind the pillars, skull mask glinting in the pale light. He carries a staff etched with holy symbols. He plants it against the stone with a sharp crack that echoes through the courtyard. Your ascension continues, he says, but today marks the first true step when your bodies are ready. You will receive the black carapace. A ripple of shock goes through the aspirants. The black carapace, the sacred final implant, the interface between flesh and armor, the organ that allows a warrior to merge with the power armor that defines the Astartes. Without it, one is nothing more than a strong, modified human. With it, one becomes a space marine in truth. Your breath quickens. The implant steadies it. Marek's hands tremble. Joran's jaw tightens in something like cautious awe. But the chaplain continues. Before you receive it, you must complete the trials of resolve. Trials that test not your strength, not your mind, but your loyalty. He steps closer, his presence chilling. You must prove your devotion to the Imperium, to the Emperor, to the chapter, to those who will stand beside you in war. He turns his skull mask slowly across the rows of aspirants. You will be given a choice. An uneasy tension coils inside your stomach. A simple one, the chaplain says, but not an easy one. You are marched through the fortress to a secluded sanctum deep underground. The walls glow with faint luminescence. Candles flicker in alcoves carved with ancient script. A heavy door stands at the far end, sealed with chains and purity seals. The chaplain gestures for you to enter one at a time. Inside is your final test. He says, pass it, and you will ascend. Fail, and you will remain what you are. Joran enters first. The door closes. You hear nothing, not a voice, not a scream, not even movement. Minutes pass. Then Joran emerges pale, sweating, but walking. His eyes have changed. Something has been burned out of them. Something has been forged inside them. Marek goes next. You wait longer for him. When he emerges, he nearly collapses, catching himself on the doorway. Tears streak his face, but his jaw is clenched, his posture rigid, whatever he faced inside. He survived. Your name is called. You step into the chamber. The door seals behind you. Darkness swallows everything. A single luminator flickers on overhead, casting pale light onto the stone floor. At the center of the room sits a small pedestal. On it lies a data slate. Beside it, a dagger with a simple hilt. A voice echoes not from a speaker, not from a person, but from somewhere deeper, colder, older. You will choose. The data slate activates. A face appears. Your father. Alive, breathing, speaking in a broken message. You watch him search the horizon in fear, clutching at a small, dimly lit room, whispering your name, asking if you survived, telling you he forgives you, telling you he hopes the chapter will be kind, telling you he loves you. Your breath catches, your throat tightens. The voice speaks again. You may leave this life behind, or you may cling to it. The dagger gleams faintly. The meaning is unmistakable. You are being asked to sever the last tie to your past, not by killing him, but by renouncing him, by surrendering the last piece of humanity you carried with you, by accepting that your loyalty belongs only to the chapter, only to the Emperor, only to war. Your hands tremble. Your implant pulses. Your father's voice fades. He was real, alive. Somewhere in the galaxy. You swallow hard. Then you place your hand on the dagger. Raise it. Press it to your palm and carve his name into the stone. Not as a burden, but as a memory you choose to relinquish. You speak the words the chaplain taught. My past is ashes. My oath is steel. The luminator flickers out. The door opens. The chaplain waits outside. He looks at the cuts on your hand and says nothing. He simply nods. You are ready. That night, you lie on your cot with your hand bandaged, the sting of the cut still sharp. Marek sits near you, silent. Joran stares at the ceiling. No one speaks. The room feels different now, emptier, yet heavier. The burdens you carried inside have been stripped away. But so has something else. Your humanity. In the morning, the apothecaries gather you in the surgical sanctum. Today you receive the black carapace, the sacred final implant. Your ascension begins. You lie on the throne. The luminator ignites. Instruments lower. Metal touches skin. Voices chant liturgies older than the fortress itself. You feel your flesh. Open, precise, deliberate incisions along your torso, your spine, your limbs. Cold metal plates, thin as paper, are slid beneath your skin. They merge with nerve endings. They bind to bone. They accept your blood as their own. Pain floods you, then disappears, replaced by something else.